Hey guys, this is Avery Jenkins, and you're listening to the Am-Side podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Am-Side podcast, the show that talks about all things disc golf, from weekend rounds with your mates to the Pro Tour over in the States. We've got you covered, all from an amateur perspective. We're your hosts, Rob and Dale. Dale, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about this week's show?
Yes, usually we have some exciting action from over the pond, but this week we've got some exciting action from Chelmsford. So we'll be reviewing our first weekend of competitive disc golf, as well as an awesome guest that I'm sure people have already heard about, Mr. Avery Jenkins.
He was an incredible guest. He's someone that pretty much everyone that plays disc golf knows his name. And most of the guys we play with, they've got his name on a few of their discs. So, and if you don't know Avery Jenkins, don't worry. He sums up what he's done in his career, and you'll be a fan of his in the end, which is what we want. Before we jump into any of that content, I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of the Am-Side. So as always, we're sponsored by dischub.co.uk. And if you want to buy any great plastic in the UK and internationally, make sure you use our code AMSIDE5 for 5% off your order. And also I want to say thank you to Disc Hub for providing the disc for the current giveaway we have on our socials. So Dale, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that giveaway and how they can win it?
Yeah, definitely. So we are running a race to 1,000 followers giveaway. So we're looking to get to 1,000 followers, and we're giving away an Am-Side hoodie, which is exclusive merch. You cannot get that anywhere else. An incredible Pathfinder that's triple foiled, and it looks incredible. I've never thrown them, but from looks alone, it's won it for me. A disc dot. You can't get in the UK, so that's brilliant to bring over here. We're very thankful for our guys our friends over there, and yeah, it's a great giveaway, and we're at this moment in time at 960 followers. But yeah, try and get us to that 1,000 mark.
Fantastic, and also make sure that even if you're listening to this in the future, and this giveaway has already been a winner's been chosen, we've always got giveaways on the socials, so make sure you check those out. But that Thought Space Athletics Pathfinder is a beautiful disc. It's a great straight flying mid-range. So if you're lucky enough to get your hands on that, I'm sure you'll be having a fantastic time. So why don't we jump into our game this weekend? As we said last episode, there wasn't a Pro Tour event to talk about this weekend, but it was our first competitive club round back at the Chelmsford course. We predicted that we would come in fairly close, sort of 6 over a piece. It wasn't quite how we predicted. So why don't you reveal, Dale, the scores on the doors?
I believe it was a +10 and a +6, respectively, for you and me. For me, it felt a bit off this weekend. It was the first one back, and it took me a while to get back into that groove. I played one of my best rounds at the end, so it took me a while, but there's definitely some positives. I thought my putting was on point, few longer putts missed, but I was feeling that confidence around that circle 1X at 5 to 7 meters and in, which just shows obviously putting in the gardens definitely helped with that. I'm still struggling with putters from approach shots, and that's something I definitely need to work on.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our strengths, all have our weaknesses. I'm kind of the opposite. I think at the moment I've been really connecting with my roach approach, as I call it. So within sort of 60 meters, I'm fairly confident with my line. But I was +7, it's not +6, +7. So I was a little bit off the mark where I wanted to be. But that was me going 4 over through the first 4 holes, and that's purely based on me shanking drives on 2 of them, which took a little while to recover, and finding a little bit of OB as well. So yeah, it was a really hard start, and after 4 was +4. So finishing on +7 isn't the worst thing I could have done. I was sort of playing against myself after that point, and managed to claw back a little bit of dignity. But I know next week I'll be hungry to take a lot of those scores off. But also we need to improve on a lot of these things, because actually the day before the club round next weekend, we have the Croydon Open as well. We have our first proper tournament as disc golfers, thanks to COVID cancelling everything last year. So it might be interesting to say that neither me or Dale are we don't have a PDGA rating. So this tournament will give us that benchmark. We'll know where we stand within that rating system. And yeah, really hard course to play on, Croydon. It's known to be quite a technical course. So maybe we won't have as high a rating as we may have somewhere else, but really excited to get out there, have that little bit of competitive vibe, which we've, I think, been missing slightly within the game. And I'm sure we'll update you on how we do on the day.
No, absolutely, mate. And well, it's a very forehand driven course. We've looked at it online. We've looked at these sort of maps of the courses, and it looks a challenging course. There's many gaps and many mandos, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting that PDGA rating. As you said, I don't think it might not reflect on every course because it's such a difficult course for our first time. But yeah, I'm quietly confident and looking forward to it.
And I think the distance is going to be your friend. It's a big course as well. And talking about distance, we just sat down with a man that is lacking no distance whatsoever. One of the biggest arms to ever play the game, Avery Jenkins. He was delighted to sit down with. We've had to crop some of the conversation because honestly, we could have talked for hours. But we've kept all the good bits in there, a couple of sneak peeks into what he's going to be doing soon, and a little bit of information around what's happening with the Discmania Originals line, which I know everyone in the UK is very interested to find out what's going on with them. So we've got a little bit of information within this week's episode. So let's jump over to, again, past Rob, past Dale, and sit down with Avery and have a great chat. Ladies and gentlemen, the legend Avery Jenkins. Avery, welcome to the show.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me.
So, I mean, I don't even know why I'm asking this, but just in case anyone hasn't heard of you before, can you just give us a quick update of who you are and what you're doing?
I'm a professional disc golfer and have been for over 30 years. I'll say I'm a professional disc golfer for the last 20 or so years, but been playing the sport since the mid 80s. When I was a young kid, around 6 or 7 years old, my parents started getting me involved in the sport. I come from a disc golf family. My mother being a 3-time world champion, my sister being a 4-time world champion, and me and my sister won the Worlds in 2009 together as the first brother, sister, siblings world champions. And so again, I'm heavily involved in the sport at all facets from a very young age until now. And being a competitive player, traveling, touring the country, the world, but also heavily involved in teaching, doing instructing, coaching. I'm a team manager for Discmania, and I'm also a course designer, sales manager for Disc Golf Park. So heavily involved in disc golf each and every day. I live it, I breathe it. It's everything of me right now. So I hope it remains that way for a long, long time, the rest of my life, I'll say.
Amazing. What I love about that intro is you've essentially given an index about all the questions we're going to ask about. So all of those topics we're going to get into. So that's great.
I hope they're in that order too. There you go. Perfect.
They're not far off. Not far off. I mean, the first point I wasn't going to bring it up, but you brought it up. You've been playing disc golf for over 30 years. I looked on your PDGA, and you were a PDGA member before I was even a thought in my parents' existence. So don't want to make you feel old there, but it's just amazing to see someone representing the sport for that long.
I'm very few of the 4-digit numbers still out there and still playing, and it's cool. It's very special. There's, like I said, a very few of us that are the 4-digit club. Right off the top of my mind is Steve Rico, and Johnny McRae, and Simon Lizotte, just because he is a European and got a really good low number, being European. So they got a good draw on that. But as far as like players that are still out there at the 4-digit number, there's very few of us still playing men's pro open, at least. And I see those names quite often at the top of the sheets.
Your name is one that comes up a huge amount in the UK, and that brings us on to our first topic. And normally your name is associated with the AJ Destroyer. I mean, the Destroyer being one of the most popular discs ever in the sport. But it's quite a contentious topic because the hottest debate on all of the platforms over here on Facebook and social media is which tour had the best destroyer, whose mold is the best. And the Avery Jenkins destroyer is always top of that list. I know Heimberg has sort of started to creep up that list, and Wysocki with his Socky Bot destroyer. Can you tell us a little bit about that relationship with the destroyer? And I'd love to know if you get competitive with some of these pros, or saying, "Oh, I've sold more destroyers than you," or "Mine flies better."
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. No, I haven't gotten discussion or a heated discussion with any players regarding who's got the destroyer and what was the best destroyer. I personally know, just from my experience, the runs that were coming out when I was playing and when I had my name on the destroyer were the best runs. There's no doubt about it. I haven't thrown any of the current runs, but man, when those transition from the first Star Destroyers to the ones that became my signature to Star Destroyers, that right there, when there was a SDS, those poppy top marbled, almost indestructible destroyers, they haven't made runs like that since. And again, it was an honor to get the destroyer. I did get to call my shots and did pick the disc that I wanted most. And the destroyer released in 2007. So there was a few years there where they actually just had a stock Star Destroyer, and those are the pre-Avery Star Destroyers. And then when I won Worlds in 2009, I got to choose a signature disc, and that was my main driver. I threw it for all my distance shots, and there was no doubt about it. I was taking the biggest, baddest distance driver out there at the time. And still to this day, you're talking about when I got it in 2010, we're looking at 11 years ago when I first got the destroyer. And sure, there's been faster, farther flying discs out there, for a distance driver. Yet for consistency and control, there's still nothing that tops the destroyer. Like, it's still the main and most popular distance driver out there. It's cool to be attributed to that and have an early effect on that whole driving wave of making the destroyer very much a staple among a lot of players, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on how many bought destroyers or thrown them over the years.
The most frustrating thing about destroyer for me is that I've just put one in my bag, and as soon as I threw it, I was thinking, why have I just put this thing in my bag? It's amazing, and it's ridiculous. I'm frustrated with myself because my game probably would have been a little bit better if it'd been in there the whole time. So
As you should be, as you should be. What was holding you back? Like, you didn't want to believe the hype, or what?
I think it was the hype that held me back a little bit. I think the destroyer
Yeah.
is known, if you haven't got the big arm, it's a little bit of a hook. So I was throwing blizzard line crates and things like that to try and maybe I didn't have the confidence myself, I say, but I've got a Star Destroyer in there now, and it's something I'm loving. But the first disc I ever had, and I want to talk about your transition to the T-Bird. So the T-Bird was the first disc I ever purchased. Can you talk us through a bit of transition of going from the destroyer then to have a signature T-Bird? Maybe why that change happened, and again, talk us through the T-Bird.
For sure. So I had the destroyer for nearly 5 years, 2010 to 2015. And when I was traveling around in 2014 with me and Simon Lazat traveling in the Discmania motorhome, we're traveling on tour, doing clinics and playing tournaments. And about that time, there was this young kid coming up the ranks. You may have heard of him. Macbeth was the last name. But he had won 3 world titles at that point, 2012, 13, 14. And so in discussions, I knew he was the next big thing. And we had talked about it. And I was kind of, stepping away a little bit. I wasn't playing as much, even though I was on tour and I was just about to have my first child into 14, into 15. And I just knew I wasn't going to be super involved on the competitive level, playing and touring and traveling. And Paul Macbeth was making a name for himself. Obviously, after 3 world titles, he is, and he's the face of disc golf, and was then and is now. And I thought it was a really nice kind of passing of the torch to allow the number 1 player in the world at that time, and still is, to take on the best disc we have for Innova. And we agreed upon it, and I wanted to hand it down and hand it off to somebody that was very worthy, and obviously is. And when I made the decision to step away, we agreed on it, giving him the destroyer, but I wanted to have something still in the lineup. I wanted to have another disc that was very dear to me. And being an Innova player and Innova sponsor player for 20 years, I kind of hold with the staples, the 4 staples in the bag, the disc you need for every single kind of fairway, mold, if you will, being a putter, a mid-range, a fairway driver, and a distance driver. And for the fairway driver, I love the T-Bird. It was always that staple disc that you need to have in the bag for a fairway, good, controllable, accurate driver. So trading off the Destroyer for the T-Bird, it was a decision, and I was glad I made it, and I was very honored to still continue on with a signature disc with Innova.
Amazing. And just to, I'm gonna hazard a guess. I mean, I've watched your in the bags in the past, but I admit that I've forgotten exactly what was what. Mid range and putter. I assume mid range is going to be a rock,
Yes.
and putter and AVR. I assume.
Yes. It's a rock, AVR, T-Bird, Destroyer, kind of like the 4 staples. And you ask pretty much any Innova pro, they're going to hit on most of those, if not all of them, but definitely getting a few of them. Those are the staples for Innova players: AVR, rock, T-Bird, Destroyer. And there is so many other discs, and there's so many more options out there. And there's a lot of hybrids of, different AVR putters, AVR 3s, AVR X3s, rock X3s, lots of variations out there, but there's always an AVR, rock, T-Bird, Destroyer in the mix somewhere in Innova player's bag.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's awesome to see. And you alluded there about obviously Macbeth being a 3 times world champion, but let's not bet around the bush. You're a world champion yourself. You won worlds.
Yes, sir.
Once you've hit that world champion status, first of all, let's talk about how that feels and what's your next goal. What do you want to do next?
To attain a world title and to be a world champion within a sport, any sport, to consider yourself the greatest player at that time or that year. I did attain number 1 in the world after I won worlds that year too. So it was kind of two different goals in one. But to hit that main goal, that major champion, that world champion status, it was everything I worked for, everything I accumulated and worked towards, and all the rainy mornings, all the windy tournaments that I didn't want to go out there and play, or get out in the motorhome and play on some really cold or rainy day, or go practice when I didn't want to, or go out and putt in the yard when I just could find some other things to do. It made it all worth it. Everything you grind through to be the best, you got to do all those things. You can't skip steps. Just because you think you're good, you can't skip working for it. It's always going to be a grind. The harder you work for it, the more satisfying it is to, attain that goal. So what it was 10 years of full-time tour every single weekend, practicing, playing off season. Really, the downtime was very limited. And again, when I'm talking about that 10 years, throughout that 10 years, I'd probably played more tournaments than just about anybody, put more miles on the road than just about anybody. And during that, like 2008, 2009, I also won PDJ points titles as well. So it meant I was out there not only playing a bunch of tournaments, but playing all the biggest tournaments and accumulated a lot of PDJ points. So no matter what it was, I was playing from like end of February deep into like November, with very few, months or weeks off during that time. And again, it was everything I'd worked towards coming together and making it worth it, and the next step is just kind of living the life I'm living now, still being very involved in disc golf. Like I said, each and every day I'm doing something disc golf related, and there isn't a day that I don't have a disc in my hand or I'm spinning on my finger while I'm at my desk typing emails or something, but I'm doing something disc golf related every single day. And the next kind of goals in my life, attain to, being a disc golf course designer. That's my big passion right now. And that's what I grind on each and every day. I'm not practicing as much anymore. I'm playing 5-6 tournaments a year, but I'm playing bigger ones. I'm playing world championships. I'm playing European Open, and playing the bigger events, a couple pro tours here and there. I'm signed up for Jonesboro, which is in Arkansas, next month. And then maybe something else. I thought about the West Coast swing at some point, but beyond that, I'm still going to I'm still going to play tournaments. I'm still going to be present at some of these events and be in the bigger ones, but I really want to focus on designing high level professional disc golf courses.
Amazing. I think we need a bit of that in the UK. I mean, we've got some great courses, but they don't seem to match up to some of the stuff we see over in the States. So, I mean, one of my personal goals is to get over there and play the Maple Hills and the sort of the Fountain Hills and those kind of those kind of courses because they just seem to be worlds apart. One one thing, I come from a family with a brother, and I sibling rivalry is something that's it exists across the world. Talk me through Thanksgiving with your family. Is it, oh, I've got this many world championships. Oh, well, yeah, I've got a few more. And then obviously maybe she brings a husband along, and that's another conversation to have. How's that rivalry and that sort of banter across the table?
Everybody wants the rivalry, but I'll tell you, there's not one. Everybody wants to have a little bit of drama within the family being based on that, but there isn't. We were traveling and touring together when all this was going on, when Nate and Val were winning world titles, and we were traveling together, and it was just what we did. We were out there, and the goal was to win, and we supported each other through and through. And that was the best time of my tour life, is when us three were traveling together, being me, Valerie Jenkins, and Nate Doss. And there isn't a rivalry with that. And man, they're phenomenal. They're phenomenal players. They're Hall of Famers. And, Valerie being a Hall of Famer inducted last year, and Nate soon to be, I think in the next year or two. I think they really look at how active or inactive you are as a player. And then I think it goes through to a nomination with the Hall of Fame. But phenomenal world-class players, number one at some point throughout their career several times. I know Val held on to it for many years, and Nate had it several times over and over again. It was just consistent all the way through his career. So there is no rivalry, and we don't really talk about it. They're some of the most modest people that I know, and they know what they've accomplished, and they know what they work towards to attain that. So it's beautiful to be part of a disc golf family. So many accolades through the family, and we're very proud of it, and we do cherish it. And it's real special to us to be, considered that quote unquote disc golf family. And even adding a few more world titles, bringing the brother-in-law into our family with then that full circle. And then I'm raising a couple boys as well, so we'll see what happens there if they can carry on the lineage of the family.
Yeah, let's take rivalry off the table. Let's talk dynasty. That's the word
Yep.
we use to going forward. Brilliant.
Sure.
So you talk about coming through the tour and being the tour. You've mentioned a young Macbeth. You've mentioned a young Lizotte. We'll get onto Lizotte in a second. I want to discuss if you have what I can only coin as disc dar. So do you see these guys from the first throw and know they're going to be top? Because obviously you've seen everyone that's at the top of the game right now from quite early on when they were low in these table rankings. I mean, I'm not convinced that Paul ever was. I think he was born throwing something or other. But yeah, do you have a
Sure.
feeling, and can you tell?
I think it's you see it in them, as far as like kind of that spark or that fire. You can really recognize, and I think top players definitely radiate, a certain vibe or a certain aura, whether you pick up on that early in their career or after they establish themselves. But it's that it factor we always talk about with a high level athlete. Simon had that early on. I met him when it feels like he was 12 years old, but he was probably like 16, 17. We've definitely talked about it a few times in 2009 at the European Open in Finland. And he made the lead card, playing out there with Climo and Felberg, and I think Jesper Ludmark at the time, being Sweden's number one player. And he's on the lead card. And then me and Nate are, I think, a second card at that point. And this young kid we never even heard of, he's out there just shredding it. And that's definitely when he made his mark. And then when you talk about Macbeth, he didn't win 2007 Am Worlds. He came in second. And I had met him at the World Championships, the Am World Championships in Milwaukee that year, and signed his disc and hanging out, talking to him a little bit. And it was the following year when he turned pro. Later that year, he made the lead card with me, Climo, and Nate Doss at the USDGC, being 2008. And he made his mark then. I think that's when he got the recognizable eye from a lot of fans and spectators of the next great thing. And obviously making a lead card in any major championship, you're going to get recognized, but you can sense it. You can sense it from the top players. And even when I met Eagle at a young age, and then later on, after he was like 15, 16, 17 years old, you just, again, you just kind of feel this energy from certain players, and you can kind of sense it. And there's a lot more, I think there's a lot more competition these days, and there's a lot more high-end players for sure. And it's cool to see the elevation of the game and these phenomenal players kind of coming out of the woodworks that have only been playing a couple years, where there's other established pros have been playing a little bit longer. But yeah, to answer your question, full circle around, you do see it. You do see it in a player just by skill, but a lot of times you see it in their personality and how they carry themselves.
Nice. And leading on, Beth, going back to Lazot, talk us
Yeah.
through. You saying there you saw him on that lead card, you was on that chase card. Talk us through
Yeah.
his career. How have you seen him grow into the player he is today? Because you must have seen that journey, and you must feel quite proud, obviously, as being part of that.
Yeah, I got to see every step of the way, which is cool. And then in 2009, when I first met him, he was just a young kid out of Germany. I don't know how UC Maresma found him out of the most remote places of Germany, where there's not really a big disc golf scene. There's very small tournaments. There's definitely not high end, there's might be a German championship that might be sizable scale, but other than that, it's very small tournament circuit. And he did get out and play some tournaments, in Denmark and surrounding countries, maybe even Norway and Finland and Sweden. But until he really kind of stepped on the scene at the European Open in 2009, he was pretty much unheard of to any top pro. And he made a name for himself that day. We got to know him a little better, and we kept in touch. And it wasn't but years later seeing him at big tournaments or seeing him at Memorial or USDGC and becoming friends and kind of building that relationship there. And then when I got to take him on tour in 2014, it was his first big US tour of playing all our biggest events, all the national tours. And it wasn't pro tours a thing yet, but we're playing all the biggest events and taking them around. And playing the events is one thing. You gotta cherish that, and you really gotta prepare for the big events and put on a good show and finish well and win. But it's also, I kind of got to show them the ropes of what the journey's like, enjoying where you're traveling to, enjoying Monday Fun Day, going out and seeing the Grand Canyon, or going to, around Boston and walking around, or going to Times Square or Central Park, and showing them that the tour is not just disc golf. It is, but you need to enjoy where you're traveling to and enjoy that time off and really enjoy where you're at in the world. And we do that quite often, whether we're in the US or over in Europe or, in Japan traveling. We enjoy the time off as well. And it's been great to experience that with him. So, not taking credit for a whole lot, but I did show him the way and how to tour and how to really enjoy it. It's not just you go A to B, tournament to tournament to tournament, but enjoy your travels. It's not about the destination, it's the journey along the way.
To make a nerdy comparison, I almost see it as Star Wars. So you're the Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon. UC's Obi-Wan that discovered Luke, and maybe Simon's Luke, and you're just traveling the galaxy, winning tournaments. That's the comparison that I see.
That's perfect. Now, if we do a movie, I'll definitely I'll play that part, or we find Leonardo DiCaprio to play my part. But I love that. That's a good script.
I guess I don't know who played Chewbacca. Maybe James Conrad's got the most amount of hair, so maybe he can jump in there.
There we go. That's beautiful. That's beautiful though. But yeah, it's been cool to see the journey and just the evolution of Simon as a player from where he was at the humble beginnings until he is now. They ranked him on an online poll as the most popular player, regardless if he's number 1 or number 5 in PDGA, standings or world ranking. He's the most popular player for who he is and what he does and what he brings to the table on the entertainment factor, his personality, and then obviously his YouTube presence, really entertaining stuff. And he produces a lot of good content. So he's popular because he's very real and he doesn't hide anything. He doesn't put on a fake, facade. He's as real as it gets, and he's funny, he's entertaining, and he puts on a good show.
Yeah, I think Discmania, I don't know what it is about Discmania, and you might be able to shed a bit of light, but it seems that most of the top pros on Discmania have that secret sauce, which also makes them a personality. So I know Eagle's got Eagle Vlogs. Simon's got his extremely successful YouTube channel. I know each brand and each sponsor has those big names of Disc Golf Macbeth and whatnot, but it seems that Discmania's kind of got that digital, cool, social media kind of vibe around a lot of their players. I think they do that really well, and I think that only builds the following around the brand. So that's why I throw a lot of Discmania. Most of my mid-ranges are MD3s, which I'll get onto in a sec.
It's we pride ourselves on that. We are very much a marketing company. We advertise and we promote just about as good as anybody or better than anybody, just for the fact that we like to hype things. If it's not product, it's our players. And Simon and Eagle, they do a good job on branding themselves as individuals and as players. And we like to get involved with that, and we like to hype them as well. So it's cool to see just the vision of UC. You know, he's the messiah for Discmania, and he leads us on a great journey, you know, and he does a lot to really promote the brand, and he likes to build it up. He likes to get people excited, and that's cool to see within disc golf in general, but that's what we do really well at Discmania.
I think you're right there with the hype, because obviously each person's got their own hype, and I think whenever a new signature series comes out for Discmania, it goes crazy. You know, collectors out there, they want the Sky Gods, they want the Cloud Breakers. You know, that's massive. I think recently,
let's not mention the tilt.
The tilt. I mean, the tilt is something else. Obviously, Eagle throwing that on the 18th at Las Vegas Challenge upside down just shows, you know, what a personality he is. But going from collection, I think recently I saw on your Instagram you was with Simon, and you was with his awesome disc collection. He has got a great collection.
Yep.
Let's talk about yours, because I don't think there's anyone with a better collection in disc golf than you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely up there. I know there's quite a few collectors out there that are big time. They definitely invest a lot of money into it and put a lot of time into it over the years. One thing, it was always, I don't know, it was definitely a side thing, kind of hobby for me to collect discs. A lot of it the passion came from my father as far as acquiring discs, and he was an authorized dealer for Innova for years. So every time we got shipments of discs, he would always kind of go through them and have a little stack for himself, and then what he's going to sell at the course. And he attained and got a lot of discs throughout the years. And I kind of picked up the addiction of collecting discs at a very young age. And then I traveled a lot, you know, on tour. I would pick up discs and got to access a lot of cool collections throughout my travels, from tour stop to different cities. And then just being around the sport, you know, being a sponsor player for so many years, you attain discs, you know, and have a certain allotment, and it was pretty much unlimited for a long time with Innova. So it was always kind of picking up stuff that I wanted to throw and have backups for. And that's kind of where that came, where I didn't want to have 2 or 3 or 10 backups. I wanted to have like 50. I wanted to have 100. I wanted to have enough that if I played till I'm 95 years old, that I had enough that I would never run through them. And so a lot of my collection was just kind of exorbitant amounts of extra throwing stock in a sense. And then I started collecting like cool stamps and different runs of things and prototypes, first run kind of stuff. But a lot of it I collected to have for myself, for my own throwing stock. But then I started collecting on the side to have just a really sweet collection of variety of stamps and different discs. And again, I'm one of the top 10 for sure. And I don't have it on maybe quantity. I'm sitting about 5,000, maybe 5,500 discs. And there's guys that definitely have a lot more, but quality wise, it's up there. I kind of remind myself every once in a while when I start digging through and find a box I haven't opened in like a decade, and crack that open and be like, whoa, I just totally forgot I had these. Oh, these are sweet. And I'm glad I held on to these or didn't get rid of these yet. And it's, I'm a collector of many things. I collect courses, I collect discs, and I collect a number of things. It's just one of my hobbies alongside of what I do within disc golf.
I think my entire disc collection, that includes what's in my bag, is about 35, 40 discs. So you've got me beat on a couple there.
Sure.
What's your
and that's most people. That's most people for sure.
What's your house fire disc? So say you've had time to save one disc. It might be a hard question, or do you know it straight away? What are you grabbing?
Wow, house fire. That's a scary term right there. That's really scary. That's things I like have nightmares about right there. The one disc, you're talking about like holy grail kind of stuff.
I'm talking similar to the Simon Lazotte's 3-stamp Sky God that you auctioned for thousands of pounds. That kind of level, but I'm sure you have something better.
Yeah, he auctioned it for thousands of pounds and then spilt a load of Sharpie on it.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. I got lots of varieties of double to triple, quadruple stamp stuff that's one of one, stuff that'll never be made again. I always thought about putting together a box of having like my rarest stuff in a one box that I could grab in case of emergency kind of thing. I really I cherish all these discs so much. I couldn't just pick just one, just to be honest. They mean a lot to me, and I do have stacks of destroyers that I would want to grab, not just one. And I don't know. I got this really nice one of these discs that just comes to mind when you say that. I have so in 1990 World Championships was Ken Climo's first world title. They had these San Marino rocks. So San Marino being a very old mold in the 90s, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. And they had 200 of these rocks with this world 1990s world stamp on them. And when he won, I got one that he actually signed. So it's an autographed 1990 World Championship rock. And only 200 of them were made. And I'm sure half of them or more were thrown. And it's kind of like a Ken Climo rookie card. And to have his first disc, his first world championship, and the one of 12, kind of thing of his worlds, that's real special to me. And I like to collect things that are kind of sentimental as well. I probably have other ones that are probably worth more in value, but sentimental wise, like he's an idol of mine and someone I looked up to for decades now. So that's one disc that comes to mind when you're thinking about grabbing one of them.
Yeah, I think anything Ken Climo era is disc golf gold. The guy is an absolute legend. I think he inspired so many, and there's he's still well known today, and his disc is still selling today. I still see 12 times Climo discs going around.
Yeah.
Do people on tour look to you for those discs? So they're looking to find a specific type of disc. Do you get the pros like saying, "Look, Avery, I need this. Can you source it, or have you got it?"
Yes, I get asked quite a bit, and over the last year, I transitioned from Innova to Discmania, being that it was kind of like it was definitely a change into the times. Being 20 years at Innova and transitioning over to the Discmania side of things, it's exciting, it's new, it's fresh, it's still in the Innova family in a sense, and has been for a long time. I've been co-sponsored or dual sponsored for about 8 years. And I was one of the few that was ever dual sponsored by Discmania and Innova, and I was the last of that kind of roster spot. So transitioning to fully Discmania and being a team manager and disc golf park sales manager, that's where my future lies within my disc golf career on the business side of things. But to answer your question, I still have Innova stock within my collection, and I do get hit up quite often for old AVRs, old 10-time AVRs. Maybe that's a number one putter for a player, and I'm talking about like top players, sponsored Innova players, or looking for rocks, or maybe like a beat up rock. They're looking for a straighter turnover. I have a pretty good selection of just broken in conditioned rocks as well. Anything from T-birds, and probably the most requested is obviously destroyers. So looking for replacement destroyers or backup destroyers, and I've definitely given out my fair share of those to players that are going to throw them. I think it's a nice kind of a token and a nice hand-me-down. If I can supply a great player with a disc that they love and they like to throw, I'll gladly do it. I'm definitely choosy and very picky on who I hand them out to, but I want to make sure that they're going to throw them and they're going to utilize them and they're going to get birdies with them. They're going to be successful, and that's the big part of it. They're not just getting them to grab them and put them away or sell them off somewhere, but I gladly hand down discs to players that are definitely going to utilize them the best.
No, I 100% agree. One thing we've spoke about when we had Nate Sexton on the show, and his Firebirds are arguably the most unthrown tour pro disc of all time, because they just get put on walls and they're beautiful, and I understand it. So I sort of asked him how he feels, because I'm personally a guy that buys discs to throw them.
Yep.
So talk about throwing discs, I want to give a quick shout out to a guy that's definitely listening to this, because he's a huge Avery Jenkins fan. I believe you actually liked a photo of his on Instagram a while back of his Avery Jenkins Destroyer collection. It's his disc plug on Instagram. He's Charlie O'Brien. He's an amazing player and a big collector. So yeah, hey Charlie, heads up. One thing me and Charlie share in common is the love for the MD3. So talking about Discmania discs, I think it's probably the most popular disc over here from Discmania lineup. And I'm hoping to get a scoop from you, a little bit of insider info, because as of recording, so not sure if it's been made public, there's a little bit of uncertainty what original lineups are going to stick around for Discmania. Are you able to let us know if the MD3 is sticking around, or is that still insider secret knowledge?
The MD3 is our number one mid-range, and for our limitations on what we have access to in the molding process and what we have access to through Discmania, being Innova molding our discs, the MD3 being our number one mid-range is a disc that we will continue to have. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. It's a staple.
Yes.
As much as a rock is a staple for Innova, MD3 is a staple for us at Discmania, being the mid-range, and P2s and FDs and DD3s. Like, those are the big discs that transfer and kind of transcend over. So absolutely.
Amazing. I mean, you have made my evening. I mean, the guests don't realize this, but it is almost midnight here in the UK based on time difference.
Yeah.
But I'm not now going to sleep because the MD3 is here to stay. And we've spoken about lost discs in the past on the show, and the most devastated I've ever been. And I walk down to the river every other day to see if I can see it. Is a G-line, perfect weight, 170 gram, Discmania original stamp MD3. And it's in the bottom of the river. I'm confident I'll get it back at some point, but the fact that they hopefully stick around for the foreseeable future means I might be able to get another 170 gram G-line in the coming year. Fingers crossed.
And when you get a chance to get one, get 10.
Oh, 100%.
So you don't have to worry about that one getting lost. You'll have backups for it. Like I said, you want to have backups upon backups for it. And it's a heartbreaker. Again, I own more discs than most, and it still breaks my heart. I hate losing discs. Hate it. It hurts me to the heart. If it's a broken in disc, it's even worse. If it's a brand new disc, you can replace it. I still hate losing them though.
I'll tell you what, that brings us really on to what's usually our last question, but I'll ask this now because it flows on really well. The question we ask every single guest on the show, every single pro, is about the negative side of losing discs. So it's part of the sport. Disc golf wouldn't be the same without losing discs. Can you tell us a story or a time where you lost one disc that meant more than any other time you've lost a disc? And tell us why that was the one disc. Was it an expensive disc? Was it one that meant a lot? Or was it just a stupid throw which you could have completely avoided?
Gosh, that's an emotional question right there. Like, I literally had dozens of discs fly through my mind. I remember having them on my hand and then throwing them and never seeing them again. So that one definitely tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. And one disc does come to mind. Keep in mind, most of the discs I throw, especially if it's a distance driver, they're going in spots where most people are never going to go. Like, I'm throwing over the top on some crazy line, like Simon lines before Simon was throwing them, kind of thing. And I would lose them in the most remote spots of courses, like over the top, long of the, or way like 100 feet, 300 feet left or right. And going down this canyon trying to find this thing, and you'll never find it ever again. So I lose discs in most spots that no one will ever find them. And that's the heartbreaker of it. But I do recall one disc. It'll go on your story of your MD3s. The 2013 European Open MD3s, they're glow, and they have like a Finnish Wolverine on the hot stamp. Best run of MD3s ever. Love these things. And I only have 5 or 6 of them. And I remember playing a course in Iceland, and we're playing at dusk, and it was a downhill shot on a course that wasn't really played all that often. And I remember throwing long of the basket into this tall grass over this little rocky hill, thinking nothing of it. And I went down there. We're playing like some big group of 6 or 8 players. Went down there and searched for like an hour with 8 players stomping through the high grass and rocks, never to be seen again. And I was like trying to contemplate coming back out there when it got dark, but it's Iceland in the summer and it doesn't get dark because it's going to glow. And I have a chance to maybe find it, and never went back, never found again, never reported found. And I hate losing discs. I'll go back to that. I just hate it. But a disc like that,
I'm sure you're the same as me. You could throw 1,000 shots and not remember the exact flight, but it's the one that you lose. Is you can just close your eyes and envision it sailing in the exact line that it took into the distance, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. The MD3 that's in the river at the moment, it was a patent pending backhand shot that turned into a roller, and it just it turned slow motion as it does. Just flicked up into the river, nice little splash. I'm still haunted by it. So it's
Gosh,
never a nice thing.
nightmares. Yeah, no, I guarantee you we were within, 10 feet of that or even 5 feet of that disc several times over and just never found it. So yeah, that's what I have to live with.
Rob, the amount of effort that went in to get that disc as well was a joke, because I think that was your mystery box disc, wasn't it?
That was the one that was a mystery box disc, which was an effort to get the mystery box. Anyway, I'm sure you know, Avery, that how hard it is, how quickly those things
I've
sell.
heard
And that
about
was
it.
the that was the disc that I was hoping would come more than anything in that box. So it was almost like in Willy Wonka when they opened the edge of the wrapper and you saw the golden ticket. When I pulled that out, I was ecstatic, and I had it for about 3 weeks. I think it wasn't, but I was loving every second. I played 20, 30 rounds with that disc within those 3 weeks, and I loved every throw.
A 170 G line MD3.
That's the one. Yeah,
okay,
that's the
I'll
one.
keep an eye out. You guys have like collector sites and stuff like on Facebook and eBay and stuff. Do you guys have access to
Yeah.
like, can you search them out? Like, they're still out there, right?
We do. You'd be surprised how hard it is for specifics, especially over here in the UK. I guess the MD3 is we've had, I would say, in the last 2 months, 20 in search of MD3 posts, and every comment has been like, haha, good luck, pretty much repeated on every single in search of. So they're, and I think a lot of that is the unsurety around, are they going to continue? Obviously, you have the 3 claws and the collectors and the Iron Samurais that people are desperate to get hold of.
Sure.
But you know what? I'm a humble man. I'm a simple man. As long as it's a nice weight and it doesn't need to have a fancy stamp, it's one that I'll love.
I'm just going to say you have access to the rest of Europe, not with just within UK, but having access to the rest of Europe, trying to track down a disc. They got to be literally dozens, if not hundreds, out there. And what's a typical price of a disc there?
Oh, the price has been inflated at the moment, though. You get an MD3. I've seen MD3 sell for 40, 50 pounds, and then obviously you got probably arguably my favorite disc of all time. Is in what it looks like, the Claw MD3. The day I get my hands on one of them is the day I retire from disc golf, because that disc to me is incredible. I know how simple it is because it's the same as every other MD3, but I don't know, the look of it, the feel of it. Was mentioned Charlie, his brother Joe froze them. That's his staple MD3 in his bag, frozen.
Yeah.
And that's how they should.
And that goes for about 100 and 120, 100, a lot of money over here.
Yeah, that's 200 quid right there.
Is a conversion about 3 to 1, 2 to 1?
I think it's probably about 100. If it was 100 pounds, it's probably about $150. I think about that. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's up there.
Okay, well, 1.5 then. Yeah, and it's just funny though. Like, as we talk about this, we all have, we get emotional. You have passion about a disc or a certain disc you lost, but it just goes to show you like the effect it has. How special disc golf is, and how a piece of plastic can be so special to one player or
Absolutely.
one person. That's pretty cool.
It's mental. But going back to when you lost this, you said you was on a card of 8 people. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. Now you can have you're going out to play disc golf with 3 other people, past or present. What 3 are you picking?
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, this is perfect for the fact that I had 3 of my closest family with me during my 1,000th course that I played at Glen Eagles Disc Golf Course in San Francisco, California, May 23rd, 2018. Just details. So I had it was me, my mother Sharon Jenkins, my sister Valerie Jenkins, and Nate Doss. It was us 4. So that was the other 3, and we went out there for a very momentous and celebratory 1,000th course, and I'll never forget it. It was as simple as that. We had a great time. A friend of ours, Jeff Panis from Innova, he does all the social media and does a lot of just production stuff for Innova, and he was out there filming the round and capturing some of the interactions between us 4, catching some of the conversation, and then we did a sit down interview afterwards, which was really cool to document the occasion. So that was my foursome, and it was magical and unforgettable, and I could play with that group the rest of my life. It meant a lot.
that's the best answer I think we've ever had, Rob. No, the amount that family means, it means a lot to me. I'm a massive family man. I'm about to have my first baby this year, and I hope he's going to be a disc golfer as well. But it's like I love how much family means to you and how much you all support each other. It's incredible.
Congratulations. That's all very cool. And if you even kind of weigh in just what the group brought, being family, being disc golf family, being very close to me. And we also had 11 world championships titles on that card, which even kind of bumped it up a notch too.
Surely, I know there's sponsorship issues and branding issues, but surely there needs to be an 11 times Jenkins family disc. Surely that needs to happen.
That's good. And we're still not even up to Climo titles yet.
Well, that's extremely true.
So you're expecting your child win again?
So he is due 28th of May, 2020, 21. Yeah, because that'll be last year.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's quite, yeah. So we were having a girl to start with. Hospital decided to get it wrong. We went for our next scan and we found out it was having a boy. So I'm just super excited. I've already warned the boys that it's going to be a month or two off of disc golf for a bit whilst we settles in. But after that, pram is out. I'm back.
Awesome. Congratulations. It's a wild ride. Buckle up. Get your sleep in right now. Just being brutally honest. Get your afternoon naps in. Like those little afternoon naps you can kind of sneak away for. Those disappear really quick. Unless you get away with having your baby on your lap, and then you can kind of get away with that nap you're putting your baby to sleep. But buckle up, enjoy the ride. There's nothing like it. Even the best disc in your collection and the heartbreaking of losing certain things or the best tournament won, nothing compares to having kids. And I am so fortunate to have two boys and, 1-6 being Arian and our youngest 1 year old being Arlo. And they're the best tournament I ever won. They don't compare to anything I've ever accomplished within disc golf. They're my everything these days.
Yeah, it's incredible. Speaking to you and given I've had tips from Avery Jenkins on how to be a parent. I've had tips from Nate Sexton how to be a parent. I'm going to be the best parent ever. I'm loving it.
Wow. Pro tips, dude. We can give you disc golf pro tips. We can give you parental father pro tips as well. But anytime, dude. And congratulations. It's a wild ride. Definitely enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Dale, absolutely no pressure now. You've got two of the best disc golfers in the world. I mean, it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
Well, Avery, that is pretty much all we have time for on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. I know we were absolutely buzzing to sit down with you, and it's been everything that we expected. So thanks for joining us. Before you go, we'd love you to shout out any social media, any platforms, or anything that you want to mention or plug. Or this is time to do it. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, again, it was an honor. I really appreciate you guys making time and adjusting to my schedule. I know you guys are up late making this happen, but it's been a pleasure and honor to be part of this podcast. And we could talk disc golf for hours, if not days. It's what I do and what I love to do and what I've done for a long time and continue to do for the rest of my life, So I look forward to continue to play at some capacity for, many more years, at least a decade or two, but it's been everything to me is be a part of disc golf. And I thank you guys for contacting me and getting me on a podcast. As far as shout outs, I just want to give a shout out to all the players out there, all the new players out there, but all the established players out there that have played the game for a while. It's cool to be a part of disc golf in this era, post pandemic. It's incredible to see the growth of the sport on the player side, on the tournament side, even courses going in the ground these days. Phenomenal growth for disc golf. So it's an exciting time to be a part of it. And I look forward to the future.
Awesome, man. Well, Avery, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute honor. Until next time, thank you so much. And we'll speak to you very soon.
Cheers, guys. Thanks again.
Wow, what a guest! It's not often you get the chance to sit down to a world champion of a sport that you love. Super humble guy. I know we spoke in the episode about sort of the dynasty that he has over there, with his mum being a champion, his sister being a champion, him being a champion, and I have no doubt that we'll see some of the Avery kids sort of coming through the ranks. And yeah, I'm sure there'll be a couple more Jenkins on the world champion plaque in years to come. So it'll be interesting, an interesting one to watch.
No, definitely, mate. And I feel every week I'm becoming a better parent after getting all this parenting advice from the top pros.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be a great parent anyway, but all of these tips and tricks, they're not going to go to waste. I'm sure they will help. Um, maybe, yeah. I mean, I know I'm hoping to have a little member of the AM side in a couple of years' time to wheel around the course, and not long now. So from point of recording, not too long at all until your little one's on the way.
Not at all.
One thing I wanted to do is give a shout out to someone that sort of has come on our radar in the last couple of weeks. And that's the guys over at Angry Goose Disc Golf. They're doing something really cool. What these guys are doing is they are using existing discs. So if you're an Innova fan, a Latitude fan, or a Dynamic Discs fan, they're taking existing discs and they're coming up with some really playful, exciting, funny stamps to go on there. I don't know, making the game a little bit more lighthearted and having fun with it. And I just wanted to give them a shout out because they've currently got a Kickstarter going on where you can go and you can back what they're doing and back the creation of some of these really great stamps they're designing, and at a good price as well. I off the top of my head, I don't know the prices, but I know the disc is well priced and you get a mini included with the Kickstarter campaign. So definitely go over and check out Angry Goose Disc Golf. I know I'm going to be a backer of the Kickstarter they have going on.
It's great to back and to help these smaller businesses, because at one point we were that smaller podcast and people took a chance on us, and now we're growing. And as of this point, I just want to obviously let people know we're in the top 40s and 50s of podcast charts around the world, which is, I don't know about you, Rob, but I never thought that would happen.
It's absolutely wonderful. If you look at I think the sports news is the category that the AM side falls within. And if you look at sports news, again, US and UK charts, we're bouncing up and down those charts. Hopefully down more than up, because we want to get to those low numbers. But it's just crazy to think that we're sitting in between some wonderful podcasts that we've enjoyed for a long time now. So it's almost unbelievable.
But let's move on to next week's disc golf. So we need to do some predictions. We have got the Vintage Open in Arkansas. Quite a good field out there. It's only a silver series. So I think last time, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, it's 25% of the points.
25% of tour points. So nothing to sniff at, but you know what? It's all points help.
It's all going to help, as we know from last year. Katrina Allen, got that top spot by playing these smaller tournaments. I mean, only 17 FPO field this week, so slightly smaller than we're used to, but I think still quite a stacked field MPO-wise. So MPO and FPO, who have you got?
MPO is not going to be too much of a challenge for me to guess because my boy Calvin Heimberg's playing.
Boring.
So you know that I've got his back. Yes, it's boring. And you know what? One episode he's not going to be playing that week and I'll get to pick someone else. Just I think he's on the chase. He came in tied fifth in his last tournament, but so he didn't have that sort of top three finish that we've been seeing him pull in the last few months. But you know what? He's a Tampa Bay boy. He's used to the hot temperatures. Arkansas is a pretty hot place, so maybe he's going to pull in something special. And over on the FPO, someone that lived in California, so again is used to that hot temperatures. I'm going to back someone that's been on this show, Vanessa Van Dyken. I think she had a slightly slow start to the season, but she's pulling in some good scores, and I think just this weekend could be an opportunity for her to rocket forward and snag a top spot this year.
Okay, nice one. So I'm going to go MPO, someone that has been chasing down those wins this year, and I think someone has exploded onto tour really this year. Casey White. I think he is definitely one to watch this year, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets down this weekend. FPO, I'm going to go Missy Gannon. Incredible player to watch. Reigning world FPO putting champion, and I've never seen anyone putt like her. I watched a video recently with her, Chris Clemens, and the boys, she can putt. It just sinks wherever she's going. And I think putting is going to be the difference this year of winning. So yeah, they're my two picks. I haven't done great this year, so good luck to those guys. But that's who I've got.
I would actually say that the FPO has got more putting talent than the MPO. Just the distance, the accuracy, the consistency. Maybe it might come to maybe the testosterone floating around in the MPO. They're maybe focusing on who I can throw further than the other guy. But the accuracy that these guys over in the FPO are getting is incredible. I mean, we spoke about Owen Scoggins before and her ability to drain a putt from God knows what distance. So I mean, the FPO have got some putting talent with Missy Gannon probably being on the top of that perch, but a lot of people just under the no strangers to chains.
No, definitely. We've got some great putters in the FPO. We've also got some really bad putters. But you've got top players in the FPO that are really bad at putting. You know, Katrina Allen from her home, she says herself she's not very good at putting, but she can throw a disc an absolute bomb.
I'll keep that. I'll keep that to her bit saying that, because I'm never gonna criticize a pro for their putting, because my putting is nowhere near bad, and by that I mean it's nowhere near being good enough to be called bad. So we'll keep those opinions to the pros, and they can have those conversations between themselves. I just want to give another shout out this week to dischub.co.uk. I said at the beginning of the episode, they're doing wonderful things to support the show, and these episodes, these shows, and the giveaways that we're doing wouldn't be possible without the support of our wonderful sponsors. So definitely go check out dischub.co.uk and use our code AMSIDE5, and you get 5% off your order as well. So, you know, coming into the summer, you'll probably be losing a few more discs now that the stinging nettles are rising up and the thorns are rising up. Everything's growing. You're going to be losing plastic. So make sure you restock from Disc Hub.
Well, I'm already seeing it over socials, Rob. People saying, "Oh, I've lost this disc on this hole. Has anyone picked up a disc on this hole?" So if you do need to get yourself some plastic, you know where to go. But talking about socials, make sure you've checked all of ours out. Instagram at the Amside Podcast. As we said, at the time of recording this, we're on that race to 1,000 followers. So don't forget to go and check out that giveaway. We're now on YouTube at the Amside Podcast. We're putting all of our podcasts onto YouTube, as well as some awesome content coming soon. And then Facebook as well, at the Amside Podcast. As Rob said last week, it's quite easy to remember.
And if you're listening to this in the future and we've hit 1,000 followers, I just want to thank you all for the support. I want to thank you for the 1,000 followers. You know, that this is for you. This is for the guys listening in the future. We did it.
Well, guys, if we don't see you on the course, we'll see you on the Am side.